Before you continue this video, hit subscribe to Billionaire Story Raw right now, because on this channel, we reveal how the world's richest people built their empires, the secret formulas they used, and how you can grow too. Real stories, raw truth. Subscribe to Billionaire Story Raw, and let's continue.
This is the story of a trillion-dollar idea, one born from genius and maybe betrayal. Picture it, a Harvard dorm room, 2 a.m. A student is coding something that's about to change everything. And he has no clue that what he's building will one day be worth $1 trillion. And that student? Yep, Mark Zuckerberg. Here's how he completely changed how we all connect. Even before Harvard, Mark was no ordinary kid. He was basically a coding prodigy. In fact, his own software tutor said he just couldn't keep up. There was nothing left to teach him. So he gets to Harvard in '02, already a legend. But this is where things get complicated. And it all kicks off with a bad breakup. He decides to channel his frustration into a new project. He hacks into Harvard's servers and creates FaceMash, a site for rating students' hotness. Seriously, it went so viral so fast, 22,000 views in hours, that it completely crashed Harvard's network. The fallout was huge. He was facing expulsion and was pretty much public enemy #1 on campus. So what does he do? He apologizes, and then just gets right back to coding. And just a few weeks later, boom, thefacebook.com is born, right there in his dorm room. And get this, in just the first day, 1,200 students signed up. It was an instant hit. From there, it just exploded, spreading like wildfire from Harvard to all the other Ivy Leagues. But then, the lawsuits. The Winklevoss twins showed up claiming Mark flat out stole their idea. And that's the big question, right? Was this an act of genius? Pure betrayal, or maybe both? But while all that drama was going on, Facebook hit 1 million users. The growth was just insane. So he makes this massive bet on himself. He drops out of Harvard and moves to Palo Alto. That's where PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel steps in. He sees the potential and cuts the first big check. And just like that, at only 20 years old, Mark Zuckerberg is the CEO of a game-changing company. So, no degree, $500,000 in the bank, and an unstoppable platform. The legend begins. But believe it or not, the real fight was just getting started. The true scandals were yet to come. This chart tracks a free fall. In 2022, Meta lost $700 billion in market value, leading media to aggressively write Zuckerberg's professional obituary. Looking at this flatline, investors saw his metaverse pivot as a massive, humiliating, and fatal miscalculation. But to understand how he survived that plunge, you have to rewind to 2006. Zuckerberg is 22 years old. Yahoo puts a guaranteed $1 billion on the table to buy his college startup. He walks into the board meeting, listens to the offer, and declines. His investors erupt in anger. His board is stunned. Zuckerberg operates outside standard business logic. He plays an escalating game of risk where he bets everything to maintain absolute control. Between 2005 and 2006, Facebook's user base exploded from 5 million to 12 million as they opened registration to anyone over 13. The financial architect behind this early expansion was Eduardo Severin, Mark's best friend and the company's original moneyman. This pie chart illustrates exactly how Zuckerberg pushed him out. Through a series of calculated equity dilutions, Eduardo's 30% stake shrinks down to a microscopic 0.03%. Eduardo sued. The dispute was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum estimated in the hundreds of millions, permanently destroying their friendship. Mark learned his first major lesson in empire building. To achieve absolute control, even the closest personal relationships are entirely expendable liabilities. In May 2012, Facebook entered the public markets. The historic IPO valued the company at $104 billion. The stock dropped almost immediately after listing. Wall Street openly laughed at the debut, labeling it a complete disaster. Zuckerberg responded with a highly contrarian, aggressive gamble. He quietly dropped $1 billion on Instagram, followed by a staggering $19 billion on WhatsApp. Critics immediately called these acquisitions a reckless overpayment for simple mobile apps. These acquisitions neutralized his biggest existential threats, leveraging billions to secure a permanent monopoly on human communication. In 2018, a political consulting firm named Cambridge Analytica harvested the personal data of 87 million Facebook users, entirely without their consent. The global fallout was explosive. The stock crashed, the hashtag delete Facebook trended worldwide, and governments demanded answers, culminating in his testimony before the US Senate. Sitting under bright lights of the Capitol, he fielded questions from politicians who barely understood email. He answered every inquiry remaining robotically, almost inhumanly calm. By 2021, he made his next existential bet. He risked tens of billions of dollars on a virtual world and rebranded the entire company to Meta. When faced with public destruction, Zuckerberg's instinct is never to retreat. He aggressively doubles down, risking the company's entire identity on an unproven future. This graph shatters the media's obituaries. In 2023, Meta's stock reversed course, rocketing upward by 400%. He launched Threads to rival Twitter. He started training in mixed martial arts, posting footage of his jiu-jitsu sparring, and publicly challenged Elon Musk to a cage fight. Today, he sits on a net worth of $200 billion. He wields total ownership of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, and controls a world-leading AI lab inside Meta. Alongside this immense corporate power, he and his wife Priscilla Chan have pledged to give away 99% of their wealth to health and education through the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. The sheer velocity of his timeline is staggering. He moved from a 2 a.m. dorm room hack to congressional hearings to trillion-dollar valuations. Mark Zuckerberg built a monolithic corporation. He rewired human connection itself. So look at the timeline. Do you think he is a genius or the most dangerous man alive? Let me know in the comments.